Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective with me, Julie Ali. Today we're going to be unpacking something really special to most of us, to most of our hearts, and those very special little people in our lives, our grandchildren. We're going to talk about the dynamics, the love, the support, the special moments, creating magic memories with those little people in our lives that mean the world to us. We're going to talk dynamics between grandparents and grandchildren, the importance of that relationship and how it can enhance the life of our grandchildren and just bring so much of pleasure into our lives. To talk to us about this beautiful subject today is a dear friend. She is Fatima Talia. She's a relationship coach, a transformational relationship coach. She's a mentor, she's an author, she's also, I guess, a playwright, and so much more. I think I need to ask her the first question for today is, which hat is she wearing today on the show right here on Perspective? Assalamu alaikum, welcome, and wonderful to have you here.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me over. I love being here with you today.
Thank you indeed. So which hat are you wearing today? There's just so much to you as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a mentor, as a coach. So which hat are you wearing?
All of the above.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I guess that does actually apply to the subject matter at hand. We are talking about those little darlings in our lives that just add a different perspective to the richness of our lives, alhamdulillah. Let's start by asking the all-important question. How different should the relationship be between a grandparent and the grandchild? And of course, totally different as far as parent and children are concerned.
Yeah, so it is a different type of a relationship, and therein lies your answer in terms of what is the role of a parent, a grandparent, and what is the role of a parent. And we don't want to cross boundaries there. So we have different roles, and it's when we cross the boundaries, that's when, challenges start creeping in. So in terms of what value, if we understand first, so we go right back, what is the value of a grandparent to with the grandchildren? The values that grandparents bring out is emotional support and that sense of security. I'm not saying this doesn't happen with the parents, but it happens on a different level with the grandparents. The emotional side of it, the security that the children feel, the comfort that they feel, it's different with the parents and different with the grandparents. So when we understand the value of it now, and the grandparents, they are more relaxed at this point in their lives, okay? We've done the parenting. Parenting is not for the faint-hearted, we know that. And so we've done the parenting. And when we were parents, at that point in our lives, there was a whole lot going on. We were really juggling. Now as grandparents, we come in from a different perspective. We are more relaxed. We are calm. That's what the ideal is, where you are calmer, you are more present, as opposed to your presence being there with the kids. You see, that's, am I bringing it across for you? When we were the children, your presence is there. I think with my grandchildren, I feel I'm present.
Okay.
And therein lies the difference.
I was speaking with someone a little while ago and we spoke about the dynamics regarding this very beautiful relationship, and it can be beautiful, and it's important on both sides, to the grandparents and to that little kid, because he or she is going to remember the most memorable moments in their growing years. And when I asked a friend about her relationship with her grandchildren, why does she possibly spend so much time and attention on them, she kind of said to me that she feels very guilty about having been an absent mother, because due to financial constraints she had to go out and work. And she says, now that I can give back, I'm giving back as much love as I can to my grandchildren to almost make up for the time that was probably lacking in the relationship with her own children. How do you view that?
She is absolutely correct. That is true. We carry a whole lot of emotional guilt where you think back, because now you are able to reflect, which you can't do. When you're in the situation, you can't reflect. It's only after the situation happens. That can be for everything in your life. It's only afterwards, upon reflection, the awareness comes in, oh, what could I have done better? So those of us, or those people that carry the guilt, the emotional guilt that they had in terms of what they did with their kids and for what they couldn't do for their kids at that point in time, we need to release that emotional guilt first. If you release that, then you've cleared the space for your grandchildren in a different way now, and the interaction between your grandchildren and yourself is enhanced, because now you're not sitting with that guilt behind you. But you're absolutely correct now. You will end up doing things for your grandchildren which you were not able to do for your own children. But of course, the circumstances for you as a parent were completely different. You were in terms of age, you were younger. You had more on your plate. You had financial difficulties or responsibilities which are different now from as the years went by. And this is why we are so able to give off that much more to the grandchildren. And the grandchildren then they can take in all these beautiful, beautiful moments with you that they will treasure forever.
The unconditional love
Yes.
which you can give to your grandchildren without possibly even disciplining them, but we'll get to that in a little while. You are a qualified transformational life coach, and earlier on you said you need to forgive yourself and let go. How easy or difficult a process is that, and how much, and I know it differs from person to person, but timing, because you want to be present, you want to be there for your grandchildren, but if you're still carrying emotional baggage, it's going to impact on that relationship.
Absolutely true. The impact of our past emotional situations that we carry within us stays in us forever. For, as you know, we can be how many years old, we put it aside, but it's there and we carry it with us every day. And so this is part of what I do, is helping people, particularly the women, because you know, we see and we work from a place from emotions, right? So you want to clear away as much emotional baggage as you can. The impact of it is beautiful on yourself and your well-being. And then the beauty of that is it extends to your interactions with others in your life. Now, when you say how difficult is it, it's actually not difficult at all. The way I structured my program is it's a 6 weeks program. I do different things for the different in the weeks there, and it's just about making the mindset, you know, just tweaking the mindset. It's all about mindset. It always starts and then you release. I teach them how to deconstruct, release those emotions, and once they're gone, they're gone. And then you feel the space cleared up within yourself to do new and beautiful things with the other relationships that you have, be it with friends, family now, and your grandchildren as well.
And I'm sure it gives you a sense of gratitude and a sense of energy to be able to focus on your grandchildren, because you've released all of those feelings of guilt or whatever baggage you've been carrying. But the other question around your relationship with your grandchildren could also be, and could impact negatively, I should imagine, is the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship. Yes. Because if those dynamics are not sorted out, you're probably not going to get access to the grandchildren, or there are going to be things said in the presence of the grandchildren, and that relationship is going to be badly tarnished.
Absolutely true, because what you carry inside is going to come out. Even if you don't want to say it, even if you use the right or correct words, your feelings come through the words. So you might be saying something, but just the way you are, the vibe, you know, all of us have a vibe. So your vibe comes through, and that can be negative, although you might be saying the right thing and the positive thing, but the vibe comes through. This is why it's so important for us to release the negative emotions that we have, so that we don't carry the generational footprint onto our grandchildren. So whatever footprint we are carrying, the negative and the positive, yes, the positive you want to pass on. Inadvertently, we can also be passing on the negative footprint to our grandchildren. So this is where we need to first clear that up, the negative side up, so that when you pass on, you're only passing the good stuff. Can I just say one more thing here? Is every couple, when they just first go into a marriage, the wife has 10 kilos of baggage. The husband has 10 kilos of baggage, and now you get married. Both of them haven't cleared up anything. Then the marriage itself, let's say for the first 2 years, before you have your first child, the marriage itself has an additional 5 kilos of baggage. Now, can you imagine what that does to this kid, the child that just comes in? The child is carrying 25 kilos of baggage just when they enter into this world. And I think this is what's overwhelming them at a very young age. So if we're just cognizant of it, clear it all away, at least they start with a cleaner place, on a cleaner page. We didn't know, in the past, we didn't know these things. Now that we know, we can do it differently. Eh?
Let's go for our first ad break. We are talking the dynamics and the relationship between grandparents and grandkids, and the importance to both sets. Of course, to the grandparents, so that they feel that they're doing the best they can for the little darlings in their lives, and the little ones to truly maximize on all of this love and attention. We'll be back in a minute or two. Welcome back. My guest is Fatima Talia. She is a transformational life coach. She's an author. She's also a playwright. And of course, we are talking about the relationship between grandparents and grandkids. And it is one of the most important relationships in the growing years of our little children and our grandchildren. So please stay with us. Fatima, let's look at the issue around the responsibility, or how impactful are the grandparents on the grandchildren's emotional well-being, their self-confidence, their identity, and just their space and place in the world.
So of course it is absolutely important. It gives them a sense of belonging, a historic connection, because we need to know who are we, where we came from. And when we have good interactions with our grandchildren, the storytelling part of it is what will start off the connection. It's something that will stay with them forever, for years to come, okay? And we want that connection to grow. Having said that, it will grow to a point, and then it will slack down a bit, because then the children are going to get more involved in their own lives and, others. So the crucial period is, when they are very young. And the value of it is, as I had mentioned, they will understand more, or they always recall who they were, what we did for them. It's very grounding for them, yeah? Because we need to anchor ourselves somewhere. We can't just be floating around and not know where we came from, what are our values, who taught us those values that we have right now. At some point, obviously not when they're young, but when you're much, much older, when you reflect, where did I get this from? And yourself, you will pick it up. These things I know, Granny used to do this. Some things, yes, your mom and dad did that, but the other stuff, it was the grandparents thing. And it's the nicest thing is, us as adults, when we reflect on it, we will know what value our grandparents brought to us, And that in itself is so beautiful, because those memories stay with us forever. So for the new grandparents, remember everything that you do and say, and all your interactions with your grandchildren. They're going to remember and recall that decades later. So I don't know if let me tell you something. When you mentioned this whole topic to me, I decided to see if my theory marries with actual, what happens here. So I went out and I did my research with the little ones. And so I spoke to kids at my school. So I spoke to the kids from grade RR right up to grade 6. And I just asked them, my question to them was, what do you love doing with your grandparents? With Nani Nana, Dadi Dada, what do you love doing? And the answers were like, I was amazed by the answers. The positive stuff was really good. And I did have cases where they have no interaction with their grandparents. That was sad for me to hear, but it's the reality of our times for whatever reason. So I never go into why and all of that. It was just, what is the best? And they're like, no, I don't really have interactions. We do go to Granny's house, or the Granny and them come here, but the adults talk to each other, and I don't have the one-on-one or any personal interactions that I can speak to. Of course, they didn't use it in the language that I'm saying right now, but yeah, this is what I found.
It's a two-way street, is it not? When we talk about grandparents and grandkids and that relationship, which is so precious both ways. Grandparents are giving off their wisdom, their experience, their unconditional, unlimited love to this little being in their lives. What are they getting in return? What is feeding their souls regarding this interaction?
For the kids.
For the grandparents.
For the grandparents, look, those that are doing it with awareness of what they're doing, that works out differently than those that are not. Some of the grandparents are not doing, I don't want to say they're not doing the right thing. They might not be aware about what they're doing. So their interactions with the kids are different. And this is why we want to highlight what is it that you're doing with the children? How can you do it differently? Because like I had mentioned, inadvertently you are passing on your generational input to the young ones.
And that's important history. That's very important history that you're passing down, because it's part of their identity.
Yes. So that's what we need to really talk about. Highlight that your interaction, you're going to get the best for both. It's going to be a total win-win situation, but it depends on what you're thinking through. It's supposed to be kind of like a planned thing. We tend not to plan for things. We just want to let things roll over. But in doing that, we might not be giving the best out of ourselves, right? So you want the best time with your grandchildren. They bring total joy. But it's also something that you must think through. When they're coming to me, what am I going to do? How am I going to do differently? And by that, I do not mean setting out a whole host of activities, because they don't need that. They actually don't need all those activities. They are overshadowed as it is. So you don't want to be doing that. You just want to be present for them. And the way to do that is sort of to get into the space that they're in. So the space that you, a 5-year-old child, 4-year-old child, they are in a different mental space, emotional space. Their brains are still under construction. So you need to tweak it as you're going along with the one child, and then of course, as depending the age group of the children that the grandchildren that you have there. But you can't be doing one thing for all the children the same way, because you're going to interact with, you love all your grandchildren, but you interact with each grandchild in a different way and help them to bring themselves out to you, and your best time you can spend with that particular child.
It's also about, like you indicate, age appropriate.
Yes.
But also the issue of, I guess, the changing times. When I kind of cast my mind back to my grandparents, to the way we are now seeing our grandchildren, it's so totally different. Apart from historical facts that we want to share with our grandchildren, they mustn't forget who they are, and they must then pass it down to the next generation. There are other factors at play here as well. And if the relationship hasn't been great with the parents, I alluded to perhaps the daughter-in-law, mother-in-law dynamic. How does one navigate that space without crossing boundaries?
The only way to navigate that space is through communication. So when it comes to communication, all of us, we can talk. Do we communicate? There's a big difference between talking and communication, and we need to upskill our communication, the skills part of it, you know. So there are going to be challenging situations where you need to say something to your granddaughter, and it has to be said in such a way, excuse me, to your daughter-in-law, yes. So sometimes you may need to say something. Be very careful. That's just the way it is, right? So you can still say whatever you need to say using a communication skill to get the message across so that they don't feel attacked and so on, and that will enhance the relationship. The truth of the matter is, if your relationship with your daughter-in-law is not where you'd like it to be, the access to your grandchildren is not going to happen, and it's a lose-lose for both sides.
Absolutely.
It's a lose-lose for both sides.
What about correcting the grandchild? Is that a grandparent's role? But I do see we're going to go for another ad break, and I'd like to explore that. What are the boundaries? What are the no-nos? What are the have-tos regarding if you see a child is not behaving appropriately? Is it your job as a grandparent to correct? Or do you discuss this privately with the son and daughter-in-law, you know, and kind of point out? Or will that be viewed as interfering? So we're talking about a very, very tricky situation here. Once again, it's age appropriate, because the younger the child, you can correct immediately. But as the child grows older, an adolescent or a preteen, that becomes very tricky. So let's go for the break, and when we come back, let's explore all of that as much as we can. Do stay with us. We will get back to you in a minute, talking about grandparents and grandchildren. Welcome back. We're talking about a very beautiful and a very special relationship, and that's between grandparents and grandchildren. It can also lead to problems if grandparents overstep boundaries and create a whole lot more problems in that particular marriage. So to help us navigate through this very important and special conversation is Fatima Talia. She is a transformational life coach. She's also an author, and she's also a playwright. So Fatima, I did give you the questions pre the ad break. Would you like to respond, please?
Yes. So, of course, children will be doing what we don't want them to do, and then it's how we are going to correct them in the space of a grandparent. So here's the thing. We need to be aware of what can I say and what can't I say. You have to be aware of it. We cannot be shooting our mouth based on how we grew up and how our grandparents may have just, you know, shouted it down and whatever. We have to be cognizant of that, because that's going to impact on your relationship with your son or your daughter and their spouse. So you don't want to cross that boundary with your own children so that you don't have access to your grandchildren. On the other hand, those grandchildren are going to be doing whatever. We just need to bring ourselves in, not to be critical or judgmental of what they are doing that is not what you'd like to do. Just really hold it in as much as you can. Having said that, where you can correct, you will correct. So the younger they are, the easier it is to correct them. Again, it's all about communication, right? The older they get, the harder it's going to be to correct them. So there, you choose your battles. If you can't do it, you step out of it, because that is not your role as a grandparent. Then you are crossing the boundary, you're crossing the line. Parenting is for parents. Grandparents have a different role. We bring in a softer element to the grandchildren. It's not our place to do that. Hopefully, at some point, the parents can understand, you know, they can do things better, they can parent differently, but I really don't think we will be able to get it right without it damaging the relationship in some way or form. So there I would be, if I have to give an example, so my little one, she will come, So she's very little now. So it's so easy and you are able to do that. So I will just correct her in the best way I know how. And for me, it's always about leveling up the critical thinking. So actually that can really work. When I think of it now, that can work for any age group that you're dealing with. So the critical thinking part where they're doing something wrong and you kind of, yeah, you did this. So instead of saying, but you did this wrong or I don't like what you did, you can be like, how can you do it differently? You know, but again, this happens when the relationship already has to be there, because you can't start this off in their teenage years, you know. You've got to build on the relationship you already have with your little ones. So, but as they grow older, you're going to be getting through to them in a different way. And the way for me, even in the classroom when I'm there and I'm talking to the kids, I do not speak as a okay, I've got the leeway to do that, because when I speak to them and I engage with them in a way that I show them I'm understanding what they're doing, and then I just question them differently so that I can bring out the awareness in them as to what they are not doing right, so to speak. Let me give you an example. The children of today, the teenage, preteens, and teenage, you know, you get the different stages of adolescence. So you've got the early adolescence, middle adolescence, and later adolescence. Now the children of today are exposed to stuff that we were not exposed to. Okay, how do we manage this part of it? So they play a lot of PlayStation and they play a lot of these games and so on. So as a grandparent, I'm a parent, but as a grandparent now, you almost want to say, stop playing, you know, you are with your phone all the time or you are gaming all the time, and what are you doing? You almost want to do that. The end is, your message to them is stop doing this. But here's the thing, you can still get the same outcome you're looking for, but just through questioning. So I ask the children, oh, what do you like about this game? What is this game more about? And especially with the grandparents, they may not be familiar with the new stuff that's out there. So, oh, you're playing such a lot of PlayStation, my darling. What is this game? Can you tell me more about it? So you're engaging with them in the space that they are at, instead of standing here and saying, why are you spending 1 hour on the PlayStation and I'm calling you to eat and you're not coming? So you do it differently, same outcome. You want for them to come back to you, and you first need to understand where they're at. So then they're going to be telling you, oh, this is then, so get involved in that. What is this that you're playing? Oh, I'm going to say Molima because this is the answers that I get from those children. But they're going to be like, oh, Daddy or Dada. Oh, Daddy, this is about, oh, Dada, this is about Fortnite. And oh, what is it about? Oh, it's so nice. You shoot people and you kill people. This is actual. I'm actually telling you with the answers that I get from the kids, you know. So they'll be, Molima, you know, it's such a lovely game. And then you win, you get points. And as you grow, you get more points and you go another level. You can't just go to level 2 and 3 without getting all those points. This is how you get to the points. You are killing them and you are stabbing them. And then you go to the next level. And then you get guns and then you get bullets, and you get,
so then at that point, how do you then divert them from that space to perhaps come for a meal or go out into the garden?
So you're still with them, you're talking to them, and you're asking them now just the question. So tell me something, when you're doing this and you're playing this, what value is it for you, my darling? Then when you stop them in their tracks talking, they love this game and they're playing, you now already letting them think. So you're encouraging the critical thinking part, that you're doing this, you're spending all this time there. Is it valuable to you? What value is it bringing to you? And then how about you play, but just for a short time, and then you do something else which is valuable to you.
So it's all age appropriate. You know, you're questioning, you're inculcating critical thinking in the little ones is really age appropriate. Let's go to another scenario. Let's go to a preteen who may confide in you. Something's troubling her or him about a situation in the home, maybe a bit of tension between the parents, or possibly also being bullied at school. And they come to you because they're too afraid to go to their parents. How do you deal with that situation? Firstly, you need to allay his or her fears, but what's your next step? Do you go quietly, on the quiet, and talk to the parents and alert them to the situation?
It's a stage thing, you know. It's something that must unfold. First of all, when they came to you with something difficult, don't respond, don't react to the situation, which is what we can easily do. If somebody comes to tell the grandparent, oh, mommy, that nani or daddy, someone's bullying me, you would want to almost, oh, who's bullying you? What did they do? What did they? You almost want to do that. That's where you need to hold yourself back to say, okay, fine, listen to the whole story, ask different questions to get out the whole thing, and then figure out your space in what you want to do. I'm not going to say there's a right way or a wrong way. There's going to be a different way depending on the parent that hears this. You know their parents better, right? You know, if you can approach your son with this, that you know what, so and so, okay, Miriam came to me and she said she's being bullied at school. How are we going to deal with this? So again, you're passing it back onto them, and you're staying in your lane. Your lane is the grandparents' lane.
Absolutely. But what do you think your son and daughter-in-law are going to react to it? Are they going to be angry at the grandchild to have come to grandparents first rather than coming to them first with a problem issue?
They might be doing that, but again, it's from the grandparents' side to say, you know what, they told me this, but it was in the context of we were watching something or playing something and it just popped out for them. Because generally this is what happens, you know, what bothers you will just pop up. It doesn't require an ideal time and situation, but it just, your mind is like that, your subconscious mind is like that. Things will pop up for you in the most inopportune time, so to speak. But because it's come up for you, it needs the resolution. And this is where you engage with your child. You again pass it on to the parents. So you don't take away their role and responsibility, and that way they don't feel bad towards what the child did. Do you see? You need to just fix that part of the relationship where they don't say like, stop going to daddy and dada, you must come directly to me. They must also understand that, okay, for some reason it was a safe space. But in any case, these days, I mean, there are children that might have issues and they go to their teachers. If they're comfortable with the teacher, they will go to the teacher. And then if they're comfortable with the grandparent, they can go to the grandparent. But if you highlight that when you're going to the parents, it might help you with the situation going forward.
Because if not handled correctly by the grandparents, it can create a rift in the relationship between the son and daughter-in-law, and they may even stop the grandchild from visiting you or interacting too much, or they may chastise or correct that grandchild, and he or she is going to feel they've done something wrong, and then they will start keeping their distance from you. So it's a very, very tricky situation, is it not?
Yes, it is. It really is. And this is why I think things through. You know, for us, we can easily prepare scenarios. And that's going to help you when the actual scenario does happen. Inshallah, it mustn't. But if certain scenarios come up, prepare yourself as what am I going to do? So that you're not like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? And then you don't get, the impact of it doesn't hold you where you just react. You can think of it. So if my grandchild comes to me and tells me, oh, there are people taking drugs or children taking drugs and whatever, don't be alarmed by the word drugs and whatever. Then you go, oh, okay, if that child comes, what will I do? What will I say to make them aware about it, but in a way that it makes sense? It must just make sense to your grandchildren. And then that way, that enhances the relationship, you know.
And that definitely needs to be escalated to the parents.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
a very serious situation.
Yes, because you don't want to be doing that. You have to stay in your lane. The parents must just be alerted to it, and then they need to handle it their way.
Absolutely. Okay. We are going for our next break. When we come back, we'll continue this very, very interesting and important discussion. Grandparents and grandchildren, the amazing relationship, it can be the most beautiful and precious relationship ever in your life. But it does come with lots of pitfalls, very especially if you don't have a good relationship with, you know, the son-in-law, the daughter-in-law. And also here comes in another dynamic, and that is the second set of grandparents. So you might be the nani and the nana, but where and how do the daddy and the dada fit in? And do we need to make space for both sets of grandparents? And how do those dynamics play out? That's really about timing and being almost equal, isn't it, in terms of allowing time for both sets of grandparents with this precious little darling.
Absolutely. So yeah, you know, it's a challenge for the parents as well, because you want to get both sets of grandparents in. And of course, all of us have different ways because we've been brought up differently. So the nani and dada's interaction will be different from the daddy and dada's interaction. We'd all like to be on the same page, but that's very much not a reality. It's just a beautiful fantasy that we have. If we can also now, what we're doing, what we don't want is too much conflict with the kids. You know, this is why you just kind of step back. Don't take things too personal, because we simply cannot be all. We can't all be on the same page, right? Just interact with your grandchildren with your authentic self. It's not about scoring points that, oh, you went with your nani and nana there, so I need to take you a more exotic destination. It's not about that. Just be authentic to who you are. Just give off your best self to your little ones, to the grandchildren there. And you know, when as the younger they are, they pick up on your love. They pick up who you are and what they mean to you, and that connect grows. So you don't want to be doing things that are inauthentic, chasing them here and there, maybe because another set of grandparents did that. You don't want to be doing that if that's not who you are. And that is one way of building on that relationship. So when I did, when I'd spoken to the little ones, I asked them what they liked doing, and I didn't ask them with your nani, nana, daddy, dada. I just said grandparents. But you could see that they're making certain connects. It's not all the same person. It's not the same set of grandparents. You can almost see that in there. But I'm not asking, is it your nani and nana you go with, or is it your daddy and dada? I just asked, like, from all your grandparents, what do you like the best? And that's what brought it out for me, the answers that they gave me. Quite beautiful.
If we don't navigate these spaces with respect and understanding, and not wanting to offend the parents, it could go horribly wrong, could it not? So what are the rules here? What are the golden rules in having a beautiful, precious relationship with your grandchildren, but not upsetting the parents and not interfering in their parenting style? Because often we may say something and it would almost seem as if we are accusing them or pointing fingers at them in suggesting they're not good enough parents.
Best way to do it is just know and understand what is your lane and stay within your lane. If you don't stay within your lane, accidents happen. That's what it is about. Basically, that's that. What is your role and responsibility as a grandparent? You can't straddle your role and responsibility, and you can't straddle that line. That line, you can't cross it. You really can't. You would like to maybe, or whatever, you know. Let me tell you something. You get something called intention and behavior. Your intention might be absolutely good, and you know, really for the grandchild, for them to bring out something in them. But your behavior might come across as something else for them, and therein lies the disconnect between what you want to say and how it's coming through. Can I give you one example that has come through the research that I had recently done? When I had asked one of the adults, tell me what stood out for you, and I didn't go positive or negative, I just said what stood out for you with your grandparent. And so the one lady said to me, what stood out for me was my grandmother. She forced me to eat vegetables. So she forced it, like she put it in my mouth, tell me to chew and swallow. Now that's really harsh. Clearly, grandparent didn't realize that her intention was what? For the grandchild to eat vegetables because it's so healthy for you. But her behavior, can you see the impact
Very
of
punitive.
that? Yeah, so, and this is something that sits with her today and that happened decades ago. So these things matter, what you do and the interaction that you have. Those are the things that are going to sit with the grandchildren when they are adults. They will reflect on the grandparents' roles in their life through the interactions that we've had with them.
To go back to a previous question, if you have this preteen who shares something in the strictest of confidence with you, and it starts worrying you, it's a worrisome situation, and you do believe that some form of action or support is needed in this situation, is it not your duty to, in a very diplomatic way, share this information with the parents without it blowing up and without the child being chastised for it?
Absolutely. That is absolutely true. You cannot keep it to yourself. First off, you can't keep it to yourself.
But will the
and
child trust you again once the parents broaches him or her?
Again, skilled communication. So you're going to be telling her, look, Miriam, you told me this, I understand it. These are the things which I'm thinking that's going to work for you. But Daddy can't do this, my angel. Daddy has to tell Mommy and Daddy because they are your parents. Again, do you see how communications, it's just about communication. So you still tell her, thank you so much for bringing it to me, my angel. This is a good thing that you've done because now all of us are going to help you to do it. So I'm going to tell Mom and Dad about it and they're going to help you further, but it's a good thing that you come to me like that, you know. And then again, when you're talking to the parents, remind them that at that point it happened, they brought it out. You guys figure out how best to deal with the situation here. And alhamdulillah that she found the safe space. She could have gone to the teacher and you might have never known about it if the teacher did it. Generally, teachers still go back to the parents and tell them because they do know that they need to tell the parents what's going on, right?
And in a situation where a grandchild comes to you and complains about one parent, not both, and says things like, my mom's too strict, or, you know, she shouts at me all the time and I'm not comfortable, and she's too demanding, she expects me to do things which I shouldn't be doing. I should be concentrating on my schoolwork. That's a very difficult one to navigate as well, is it not?
Not really, not for me. From what I do, it's not. It's going to be like, again, I think it's going to I'm going to be asking, why does Mommy do this? Why does Mommy yell? Do you think she has a lot on her plate? Can you help her by doing your work so that she doesn't yell? So for me, it's always about
critical
raising,
thinking, right?
Yes, so that way I'm not straddling anything. And one thing I would never do is say Mommy is wrong or Daddy is wrong. They're not wrong. They're doing it the way the best they know how. You don't know their head space, their heart space, their financials, whatever. A lot of things are going on with the parents right now, and we don't know what they're doing. So you just want to support the child in saying, oh, okay, if mommy's very busy and she's cross or whatever, how can you help her? So on. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to get into that, oh, Mommy did the wrong thing, she shouldn't be doing this. And for me, it's not my place to tell my son or daughter or son-in-law or daughter-in-law how they should behave. That's not my place.
What advice would you give to parents or grandparents who are wanting to strengthen the relationship between themselves and the grandchildren? Let's assume, there was a bit of conflict within this family, but they want to strengthen the relationship. How do they go about it?
It's about doing it in a non-confrontational way. It's about just leading conversations towards going the next step. But again, you've got to clear away what has happened in the past if you want the present to be where you'd like it to be. Because the past will always bother the relationship, you see. So you've got to clear the air, find a way of clearing the air before you want to go forward.
Almost wrap up time. I think you have one or two cute little sayings you'd like to share with us before we end up.
Okay, good. So the little ones, what they said to me, generally it was about the talking. Children love to talk. So let them talk. Talking they did. Some of them said they loved doing things for their grandparents. So clearly there was a beautiful relationship. And where the one said, oh, she loved it when my granny said, I must rub her legs. She loved it. Then we had things like, okay, I must tell you this one, special one. She said to me, I love singing with my granny. I love singing, dancing, walking with her, taking long walks, eating with her, and I love praying with her.
Oh, wow.
And I found that so beautiful, because generally you had that, what is so special about going to Nani and Daddy's house, you know, to their homes? What is so special? They would say what is very special is, oh, they give me treats, special treats. They love the sleepovers. They love the treats that you give them, the chocolates that you give them, the special attention that you give them. They love that. So those that have made the connection with them. So it's these little things that lead to the bigger things, right? So they gave me some beautiful things. The one child said to me, they love the fact that my granny knows I love samosas. So whenever I go there, she'll fry extra samosas just for me. So there's a samosa connect.
Okay, right. And it could go on and on and on, but we don't have time for more. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm sure whilst this conversation was going on, it brought a lot to you. It triggered a lot of beautiful memories for you. And going forward, inshallah, you are going to nurture the grandparent-grandchild relationship. Lots of luck, inshallah. Till the next time, as always, Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz.